Welcome back to another episode of the Weekly Yap. Today, boys and girls, we are talking about a show I really like a ton. Okay, I want to emphasize how much I like it because I'm going to criticize it a little bit. Okay, we're going to be talking about Invincible. In my opinion, it's not living up to what it fully could be, though it still does a pretty good job. All right, I'd like to start with, I am somebody who I haven't read all of the comics, but I grew up with the comics, right? I didn't get to read every single page, but my dad collected it, and I got to sneak a few pages in when I was younger, and then in my teens, read a couple of the books. I know how the story ends. I know basically the main story beats, the big turns, the spoilers, right? Now, as a viewer of Invincible, I love the story. I think the story is amazing. I think it is one of the best superhero stories to date, right? Now, I'm going to have to compare this to a show that is also coming out around the same time as Invincible, and that is Jujutsu Kaisen Season 3, which is coming out around the same time and has some of the most beautiful animation, and so far is like a masterpiece of a season of a show, or just any media, from the camera angles to the animation to the art to the voice acting. It's a whole package. Another show that I really like that has some jaw-dropping animation is Chainsaw Man. Now, if you got to see the Chainsaw Man movie, the Reze arc, that is some of the most beautiful art I've ever seen, from, again, the camera angles, the animation, voice acting, all of it. To get back to Invincible, and the reason why I bring up those two shows is Jujutsu Kaisen is on a budget of $150,000 per episode, right? And Invincible is around 2.5 to 3 million per episode. It doesn't feel like you're getting $3 million to $2.5 million worth of show, right? It feels more like they blew a budget mainly on voice actors. Or should I say actors, big name actors that are just doing the voices. Now, some of these actors are very familiar with voice acting, and that's totally fine, but the problem is, one, the show really doesn't give a lot of exposure to new voice actors. It really feels like Robert Kirkman really wants A-list celebrities in his show. And that's cool. You can have A-list celebrities, but I feel like one of the beautiful things about voice acting is there are some amazing voice actors that would do such an amazing job, but don't cost as much. And, you know, as much as Mark Hamill is one of my favorite voice actors, I grew up with him playing the Joker, and that was fucking amazing, right? From the video games to the TV shows, and like his work on Adventure Time, all that. Like he is deep in the voice acting community, and if anything, I think he's more of a voice actor than the rest of the cast, personally. Now, though I love him, I don't think he needs to be in the show. I don't think half of these actors need to be in the show. Like, was it cool to have Aaron Paul in an episode of Invincible, or in a season of Invincible? Yes, that's cool. But if you look up how much these actors cost per episode, that's where most of the budget's going. Now, the reason why I bring up that is because a common criticism of Invincible is the animation. Now, I think the animation, for what it is, it's serviceable. It's not as bad as what some people say. Like, it's not anywhere near as bad as One Punch Man Season 3, right? But you do got some sliding PNGs. You do have some under-detailed figures. And my main criticism mainly comes from the art. And it really pisses me off that we don't get as much detail in the show. I'll put up what I can from the comic, because the comic, oh my god, those comic panels look so fucking amazing that, you know, it's just some of the best art. Ryan Otley, amazing, right? Now in the show, and I think the main example I will use for the loss of detail, okay, is dinosaurs. Okay, I'm with some of the Invincible critiquers. Okay, he does look like a red Barney. Okay, especially from what he looks like in the comics, it's so different. And I understand you can't get as detailed as a comic, but I'd like to refer to the Max TV show that was on MTV, I think it was. And then also the Spawn show. Now, both of these are older, but they still had pretty decent animation. And it's like, if, you know, I'm totally fine with sacrificing some animation for detail. You know what I mean? I understand there's give and take. I understand they don't have anywhere near as much detail, but they still have some great animation. When it comes to, say, Batman, the animated series, how the show looks nothing like a comic, right? But in a lot of ways it does. It has some crazy angles. The problem with Invincible's way of shooting, or in the way of direction, I know this isn't on the animators, this is more so on the director, right? There's a lot of just, it feels like it's being shot like a normal TV show. It doesn't feel like it's being shot in what is normal animation. Like, again, take JJK or Chainsaw Man. You see them use some of the most dynamic camera angles. You're getting so many different shots, close-ups, far shots, stable shots with rotoscoping. You know, there's a lot of, you can tell they're having fun. The director is having fun, where in Invincible, it really just feels like, hey, we have front shot, side shot, wide shot, and it's those simple things. You don't get a crazy downward angle. You don't get like a crazy like peephole angle. You don't get any crazy camera angles or artistic camera angles. For me, I'm a big nerd about how they artistically shoot movies, all that. Like, I don't really like how the MCU shoots their movies, because it's, again, very formulaic, very basic. Now, you take something similar, right? Like the recent Batman movie. It's just full of some beautiful fucking camera angles. And you get a crazy shot. You get a crazy shot from a window looking down. You get like a close-up of a mug to then it pans out. You get some crazy angles. And I find that super important because it's a part of the storytelling, right? And you can see it in the comic. Like, the comic's camera angles are fucking insane. And I think the show does a great job at trying to keep the tone of the comic. And I think it keeps like a great tone overall. And for the most part, it doesn't waste the viewer's time. Personally, I gotta say, this isn't really much of a spoiler because, you know, it's showing right now kind of where it's going. But, like, the show isn't set on Earth overall. The overarching story isn't really set on Earth. And that leads me to the one episode everyone has been kind of clowning on, which is the Damien Darkblood episode where Mark goes to hell. Okay, I understand why it was told. I think it was just a lot of shots were lingering. Some jokes weren't landing as they should have. I feel like there's a whole fight in which instead of watching the fight, you get to watch Damien fall. And that's kind of like, okay, cop out there. You know, you're giving us a side story that isn't in the comic at all. And, you know, some are calling it filler. Some, like, I wouldn't go to say it's fully filler because, you know, you're probably going to talk about it later, right? Filler typically is content in which it doesn't matter to the main story. Now, realistically, this isn't going to matter to the main story, I don't feel, if it follows anything like the comic. Now, they have shown that they don't want to fully follow the mainline comic because they changed the complete character, honestly, of Tech Jacket. With Tech Jacket, you had an Iron Man-like character, right? Who, at first, Mark and Tech Jacket were very similar, but Tech Jacket really kind of, think of season 1 Mark, where he's just learning to be a hero. That's where they kind of were, but they have departed, right? Where Mark is going through a lot of fucking shit. He's a lot more depressed. He's a lot more like figuring shit out. Where then later Tech Jacket is more so like taking the morals and trying to do the best he can. And like he does a whole bunch of shit. I haven't read the comics, but he's such a popular character that he got his own mainline comic. Now, to then see this character that a lot of people grew up with and a lot of people really fell in love with, to then see the animated version of their character become more of a child, right? They aged Tech Jacket down more for when they really involve them into the story, which is with the Viltrumite War. But then also changed the gender, which, you know, honestly, how the character acts in the show, like if you only watch the show and that's all you get, it's not a bad character. I feel like a lot of people hate on it because it's just changed, but it's more so like I understand the actual fans who are like excited for this to then see a character they really liked gender swapped and younger, and it really seems that they're trying to make Tech Jacket now a love interest for Oliver, when, if you know anything about the comics, Oliver doesn't like humans. Okay, that isn't like a huge spoiler, if a spoiler at all. He doesn't like humans. Like, he's not attracted to humans. That on top of the fact, okay, you age down a character to meet an age of another character. You know, the one character ages fat like a fuck ton faster. Like last season, what was it? Oliver was like 8 or some shit, or like 10, and now he's like 15. Like, it was within one season, right? Tech Jacket isn't gonna age like that, right? And it just feels like they're trying to change the story to make certain things more relatable, and it's just like, I don't know about that. But yeah, those are my main critiques with the show. Now, to kind of go over what I really like about it, I think, again, okay, as much as I just harped on the voice acting and how they are using so many expensive actors, I think the main cast is amazing. I think you don't change those at all. I think all of them do such a great job, and like J.K. Simmons as Omni-Man is just music to my ears. And yeah, it's just, everyone's doing a great job. You can tell they're having fun with it. You can tell that, like, you know, though they're most of them are traditional actors, a lot of them do have experience in voice acting, and it shows, right? Another thing I really like is, for as much as I harp on the animation, I really do think it's a little overhated at times. When they have big fights, I think that's when the animation shines a ton. I feel like if they wanted to negate some of the animation discussion where a lot of critiques on it. If they're not going to animate it as much as they do the fights, they should at least composite it more. Like, I'll throw on screen a fan version versus the show version, right? And mind you, this isn't just like a screenshot and they just edit. No. They went through each frame and added the compositing in. And I honestly think it changes the way the show would be viewed entirely. I feel like people would not bitch about the animation as much. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are below. I genuinely think that the show's one of the best. It's up there with The Boys. It's up there with JJK and Chainsaw Man. I think Mark is an amazing main character, and I think it just shows that Image Comics has the best comic to TV show capability. I'd love to see a reboot of Savage Dragon, a reboot of Spawn, and just more Image comic adaptations. And like, I understand not all the Image comics were these perfect masterpiece stories, right? But it's okay to change shit. Like, there are some things that happen in the show for Invincible that don't happen in the comics, and I think it's for the better. And at the end of the day, it's still a good show. And for as much as people complain, I think it's because they see the potential in the show. There's some people who just troll and rage bait, but for the most part, I think it's because they kind of stand in the same group I do, where it's like, man, you see the comic art, you see, you know, shows that are on such a smaller budget, right, doing so much more when it comes to animation and the camera angles and this, that, and the other thing, right? That it's just they see the potential for it. But yeah, if you like this video, leave a like, comment, subscribe. I really want to know what your thoughts are on the show. Do you like it? Do you not like it? And why? Also, what shows would you like to see come out from any comic or manga? I'm really hoping for a 10 out of 10. Like, I want Mappa to fucking grace us with a amazing Berserk adaptation. That is all I want. But yeah, y'all have a great rest of your week. Stay hydrated. Deuces.